Sonic Superstars dropped and it's definitely a Sonic title. This one was co-developed by Arzest, the studio behind such classics as Yoshi's New Island, Hey Pikmin, and... So basically following the success of Mania and most people enjoying that title, they said, what if we save money? And followed it up with some scummy practices like neglecting to tell people it came with Denuvo, which everyone hates. Denuvo? Whatever. They apparently sent Valve a version without it, and then the public one came with it, alongside the online needing to use the Epic Game Store even when on Steam. Superstars is the first classic Sonic game to feature 4-player co-op. A few games in the past have allowed a second player to control follower characters, and now you get that in all of its glory, but with 4. If you have 4 IRL friends, which I do not, I just had the one, because the game does not have online co-op. The reasoning behind that, according to Sega, is Sonic is too fast. And, well, you know, just having played the 2-player, yeah, it's kind of what I feared. Admittedly, when I first saw the trailer, I had that, oh rad, co-op Sonic, and then immediate flashbacks to playing Sonic with a sibling, being stuck with Tails and struggling to stay on screen. This game captures that feeling perfectly, as even moving a pixel off camera will result in you despawning and then growing out of the camera's favorite like a bad tumor. The multiplayer itself kind of feels like an afterthought, almost like a fan-made mod for a single-player Sonic. Each character is a little different and pretty similar to their Origins outing. Sonic gets the drop dash but no peel out, and there aren't elemental shields, so no shield skills. Tails gets to fly and receives a pretty great buff of being able to manually descend. Ooh. Knuckles glides and climbs, but they haven't allowed him to just roll out of a glide yet. The speed also seems capped, so it's not great. Amy gets a double jump and a hammer attack instead of drop dash that got nerfed hard from Origins. Man, it sure would be funny if there was like a 5th character too that just like invalidated Knuckles and Amy. But that'd be silly to include. Ironically, I think the game is a lot more fun when you play it solo, even though you take the nerf of a zoomed-in camera. The stage design itself is pretty good, kind of reminiscent of like Sonic CD. As with any Sonic game, it has its ups, its downs, and its loop-de-loops. Every stage tends to have a gimmick, and most are pretty cool. I was starting to get a little annoyed with the game, but then got to the cyber stage level where you get a cosmetic change and the gimmicks are kind of just like quick little mini-games. Others are generic, like there's water, there's sand, or theme park. Then there's Golden Palace Zone, which is it's just awful. Because it bounces back to the pinball gimmick that a previous stage did, and they were like, hey, what if we made it worse? I think more so than any other classic Sonic title, this one punishes you hard for holding right. The first zone, sure, but by later ones, you're gonna get smacked constantly if you're trying to blindly go fast. Props though that every zone has a unique looking boss fight, with Act 1 having a metal menace and Act 2 sporting Eggman's failure of the week. But then take the props away because the boss fights themselves suck. Probably the worst part of the game. I'd like them a lot more if they didn't stall so much. Sonic bosses always tend to do that, but their hurt boxes were always active. You could often cheese some extra hits with some well-placed bounces. When you hit bosses in this, you tend to go flying off. Not only that, but a ton of them just love to hide in the background. It's no longer hit 'em and dodge, idiot. It's wait for me to finish my string of movements and then I will present myself for you to graciously knock upon my noggin. The later ones can take like 5 minutes to fight and love to have instant kill moves or death pits, so that if you do slug through them, you might have to redo the whole thing because of a misstep. The bosses actually kind of wore me out on this. Like, I was just kind of marathoning through the main mode, and when I took a break and came back fresh, I had a lot more fun with this title. Because it isn't bad, really. It's a pretty solid Sonic entry. Its low points are just a lot lower than other titles, in my opinion. Luckily, in the time attack mode, you don't have to fight bosses, so you can just enjoy the stages without having a blow to your sanity and or patience. But I wish you could, like, gauntlet them. Maybe you can if you've beaten all the stages, but prior to recording this, I got filtered by the big egg and didn't want to sit through the glorified QuickTime event again. Anywho's, another new feature of this title is Chaos Emerald powers. The caveat being that you have to play the Emerald minigame to unlock them, which is, it's boring. Getting an Emerald will allow you to trigger one with the press of a button. Most are pretty situational, and others are beyond busted. A neat thing that I didn't pick up on at first is the game actually nudges you where most of the more situational ones are triggered. There's an ability that lets you see hidden objects, and most of the time, there isn't much hidden. But in select areas, you'll actually get a little prompt in the bottom right which auto-selects the ability. Aesthetically, in my opinion, the game really just falls flat. I feel like the Switch version kinda held it back, which is what this footage is from. But I've seen the PC version too, and it doesn't seem to look all that much better. Something about the colors just feels off to me. And I'll be honest, I haven't been a fan of classic Sonic being this like aqua color. I don't know if that was done to make him different than modern, but icky. At least in 3D form. Animations and sprites, sure. But the 3D models, though I am actually kind of colorblind with blues, so maybe that's why I'm less of a fan. It probably makes him seem worse than he is. Some of the stage themes are pretty nice, and others are just spluh. It's really a letdown knowing that at one point they considered doing a hand-drawn style for this, but they elected not to because 3D would better convey many of the classic aspects. Which is corporate for we wanted to save money. 3D obviously can be fine, but generally with more cartoony characters, it's good to stylize it somehow. Like you included a Feels the Rabbit skin, which clearly has some rubber hose influence, and you want to tell me 2D wouldn't fit? The animations, expressions, and everything about these models are just lacking in my opinion, especially when you compare it to the upcoming Mario Wonder. Most of the animations in this are just remaking the classic sprites, but somehow more lifeless. They really should have pushed the expressions a bit to give them some more charm. But the most egregious thing is that they committed one of the Sonic cardinal sins. The game doesn't have great music. In almost any Sonic game ever, there is at least one, if not multiple, certified bops. In Sonic Superstars, it sounds like the music just wasn't finished. It's kind of weird to describe, like none of them are inherently bad per se. They just aren't very memorable. Most of them are just kind of mindless A lot just kind of mimic a Genesis sound font, but the mixing of the game too is kind of weird, and it seems almost like the music was kind of muddied. Not to mention some of the god-awful sound design choices like, excuse me? I'd like to be jamming now, please. There is also an online multiplayer battle mode where 8 players can do some pretty generic minigames like survive, grab stars, and race. But I thought you said you didn't have online co-op because at the end of the day, it's a Sonic game made by the people who made Bland Wonderworld. Some may call it a step in the right direction for the 50th time, not realizing that with all these steps taken, one could just call it walking. It doesn't really excel in any aspect, but it also doesn't really do anything incredibly awful. Outside of the final zone. I do think that this title is at least more original than Mania, and if it were priced the same, I feel like the overall reception of it would be better. But putting it at full price, hiding the de novo aspect, and having a shortcut to day one DLC shop just, it feels a little icky. I always feel kind of weird being negative about Sonic, because I never want to be like the YouTubey boy that hates on Sonic, because that's the meme. I want fun Sonic, but I honestly don't think that Sega is going to be the one to make it. Mania was a very well-received title, and that one was basically made by fans. I think they should really just give the reins to them, especially considering some of the insane fan games that are being made right now. This is a pretty solid Sonic title, all things considered. If you liked Mania, chances are you're gonna dig this. If you ever catch it on sale, I'd say snag it. But unless you're just itching for more classic Sonic, you can probably wait. Also, one of the bosses has you fight your multiplayer avatar, so I had a giant robot clown on my screen, and that was just fitting.